for having me.
Okay. Our second story tonight is of a woman who gave up her child for adoption at birth. Maureen has been with us all day long, doing some wonderful arts and crafts with kids and sharing some of her God-given talents, freedom of expression, and just the pleasure of being alive. So I welcome Maureen, who comes here to tell her story and bring some of her family with her, I believe. And this is Maureen McMahon.
I think probably I should ask that we say a prayer together just for my ability to get through this. So I need to be able to look at all of you as my friends, kind of. And Lord, I just ask you to put the right words in my mouth. Help me to control my emotions. And just help me to tell my story, Lord. Thank you. Well, as you can see, I will be somewhat emotional. In March, I received a letter. I was at work and it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I was checking my email to see if an email blast had gotten to my email address. And I opened my email and there was something from the adoption registry. I thought, oh, what are they doing? Sending me a birthday card? It's not my birthday. What's going on? And I opened it and it said, hello, my name is Nick. And that was about as far as I could get. I just burst into tears because I knew what was coming. Judging from the adoption registry, there is a possibility you could be my birth mother. I was born 5/24/81 in Rochester, New York, and this is the only entry that returned. Recently, my mother was going through her safe and found some of my adoption records, all of which I had never seen before. Needless to say, I found it very interesting and informing. Included in the documentation was a note my birth mother had written. It was very heartfelt and touching, and in what I can't imagine was probably one of the hardest decisions she has ever had to make. I can't thank her, you, enough for your selflessness. I was brought up in a good home with a great and supportive extended family. I've gone on to college and am currently getting my master's degree. Another thing happened recently which also made me want to reach out. My wife and I had our first baby 17 months ago. It was hard not to think of my circumstances going through the whole process and think what a difficult decision that must have been. She is my everything now, along with my wife, of course, and again, I wanted to thank you for, well, giving me life and making the decision to give me a better life, of which I have had. Thanks to a good home and upbringing. Nick. Well, you can imagine that I just sobbed right out loud at work. Nobody was there. And I just kept reading it and rereading it, and in about maybe a half an hour, Tim, my husband, came walking into the gallery and said, what's the matter? And I said, I couldn't even talk. I just pointed to the screen, and Tim kind of, Maureen, I told you to do that a long time ago. And I said, but it wasn't the right time. It just wasn't the right time for me, so now is the right time. Anyway, I got that letter and didn't really know how to react. You just don't know what to do. I wrote him back and I said, call me tonight, and sent him my phone number. And then, as my mind started working again, I remembered I'm not going to be available tonight. I'm going to be at a play where I can't have my phone on, so I sent him another email. I'm not going to be available until after 9:30. So during the play, my daughter Amory was sitting right next to me, and I never told the kids. I didn't know what was going to happen. So I figured there is no time that is the right time. It wasn't for me to decide. So at the plate, Amory was sitting right there, and then my sister Teresa was sitting one person over, and it was killing me not to be able to tell Teresa what had happened that afternoon. So I got home after the play, and I got on my email again, and there was a response, call me. I'll be up. You know, I have to put the baby to bed, and I'll be up and I'll answer the phone. I paced, and I walked into bedrooms and out of bedrooms and just paced, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. Is it too late? It's 10:30 now. So I texted him and I said, is it too late? And the phone rang immediately. And he says, hi, this is Nick. So I was so relieved because he just opened the conversation, and he was just really relaxed, which I was not. But I didn't lose it then. I didn't burst into tears. We just had the most wonderful conversation. I remember saying, how do I know that you're really the one? And he said, well, my birth date, and then on the information from the adoption registry, you have a big family, don't you? And I said, oh, okay, then yeah, that's me. So he said, would you like to meet tomorrow sometime? I think my wife is working right now, so when she gets up tomorrow, I'll talk to her, and if we can get together, I'll let you know. So you can imagine even the next day, I could hardly think. And at about 3:30, my phone, I received a text, and he said, how about 7:30 tonight at Starbucks across from Eastview? I don't think I ever asked him where he lived or anything like that, so to think that we could meet somewhere as close as that was very comforting. But I just got in my car and I drove towards Eastview, and I went to my sister's first, and she told me that I needed my hair cut, I needed to change my clothes, I had some hair on my chin, that kind of thing. So I guess I took care of those things first, and then I went up towards Eastview, and just, again, I would go into some place, walk around, walk out, I had to walk and breathe, walk and breathe, walk and breathe. And I was a little bit early when I got to Starbucks, and I ordered a drink, and for some reason, Tim knows, whenever I order anything, it's wrong. I don't know why that happens. We think it might be because I have really big teeth or something like that, so they're not listening to me, they're looking at my teeth. So there was a drink made, and I took the drink, and she apologized and said, oh, just take it anyway, but let me make what you really did order. So I had 2 drinks, and that was odd. And I went and sat down at a table with 2 drinks, 2 coffees. And I kept thinking, oh my gosh, he'll come in and he won't even stay because he doesn't see anybody that's sitting alone. You know, all these things going through my head. And it was 7 minutes after 7:30, and I thought, oh boy, this isn't going to work. He probably changed his mind. So I texted him and said, I'm here. And he said, so am I. Red chair, blue shirt, something like that. I know. And I was in the wrong room. So I got up and I took both of those coffee drinks with me again. And walked into the other room, and I saw this young man that looked just like my brother Gil. So I just, well, there's no doubt, you know, I just walked right towards him, set the drinks down, and I said, I know it's you, you know, because you look just like my brother. And he stood up, and I know he was like fixing his shirt, and just, we were both pretty nervous. But somebody said, did you hug him? And I said, I don't know. If I did, I don't remember. I just remember setting those 2 drinks down. But anyway, we talked for about 3 hours. It was very comfortable. One of the first things that he said, and he kind of apologized first, was he would do this a lot, you know, like if he was uncomfortable about something, and he'd kind of move said, this is really uncomfortable, but if you're not okay answering it, then that's okay too, but does your father have hair? And I said, no, but he's really handsome. And everything that happened like that, I think he might have said, did you have to have a lot of work done on your teeth? Things like that. Just, there was a lot of humor for 3 hours. It was just wonderful. I'm going to back up just a little bit. I thought I had the flu when I was 19, and on the 3rd day, I woke up and said, I don't think this is the flu anymore. I should really kind of put all the pieces together and think about what's going on. And my mom was working at Birthright, so I walked 2 blocks down to Birthright and sat in front of the desk and said, Mom, I think I'm pregnant. And she was wonderful. She kept her cool and said, how do you want to handle this? And I can receive the phone call letting us know whether you are or not, or you can receive it, which would you prefer? And I said, Mom, if you could take that phone call, I would really appreciate it. So that was about it. And then the next day my phone rang and my mom was already crying. So I knew what was going on. And she suggested that I go and live with a family through Catholic Family Services, which I did do, the most wonderful family in the whole world, besides my own. And I lived with them. Jan, the mom of that family, was my coach as I went through labor and delivery. And because Nick was 3 weeks early, I had not made up my mind yet. I kept a journal, and one day it was, yes, I can keep this child, and the next day it was, no, I can't. I just can't do this. I was trying to make money, see how much money I could make, and can I afford raising a child, but no matter what I did, I felt as though I was going to have to work. And I remember living in Fairport, driving to an apartment complex and kind of looking around at what was going on there and thinking, this is where I would be if I chose to keep this child. I don't think I want to do this. But then another day I would say, I can do it. Back and forth. 3 weeks early, I don't know what to do. So I said, Jan, when the baby comes, I can't see him or her hold the baby. I just can't do that. That will have too much to do with my decision. So after he was born, it was 5 grueling hours of pushing. And I didn't know you weren't supposed to push with your face. So I broke every blood vessel in my face and in my eyes. And he was a big baby. Anyway, as I was recouping, Jan kept walking past the doorway with the baby, and I said, Jan, it's okay. I can see him. And she goes, no, I'm not going to let you see him. I'm not going to let you see him at all. We made a decision, an agreement, no. And she went by about 5 times. And on the 5th time, I guess I convinced her that I could handle it. And my mom was there by then, and her best friend. And when Jan brought the baby in, I heard God speak. And I remember kind of looking up like this. Like, where's that coming from, And God said, he is not your child. He is mine, and I will take care of him. His name is Christian. So that made that a lot easier for me. I just felt a weight lifted from my shoulders. And it helped. 6 months later, when my dad said, are you sure that you made the right decision? Absolutely. I know I did the right thing. And as time went on, and Christian to me grew older, if I had a moment where I thought, wow, he's 16, I wonder what he's doing, I hope he's okay, I'd say, no, he's okay. God told me he would take care of him. What a wonderful promise. And then to get older and have my own children and know that I didn't have to hurry to meet him. I could leave it up to him, leave it up to the Lord, to kind of make all that work together. So that's when that letter came in. And my children, both of my girls, really reacted beautifully. We've gotten together with Nick as a family. I've also introduced him to the Innes family, and this is probably an interesting way to end this story. We were sitting at the Inneses up, where do they live, in Arundecoy? Anyway, up that way. And they had all kinds of questions for Nick. In fact, when Nick and my daughter Amory and I came to the front door, John Innes said, "I already know you. I've met you before you were in Maureen's tummy the last time I saw you." And just, you know, to kind of have that go full circle was amazing. They had lots of questions for him, so we're sitting at the table, and they said, "What was it that made you finally choose to get a hold of Maureen?" And he said, "Well, it was Friday morning. I was at work, and I ran my hand through my hair." Do I need to say anything more? He wondered if he was going to lose his hair. Which I love that story. But I didn't even look at my notes. I will tell you that at one point Tim said, do you mean you really heard God's voice? I thought that you meant you felt that in your heart." And I think God knew that he had to give me his voice for me to believe him. I didn't really know what to do, so I had to hear him verbally. But it's a beautiful story. This young man likes me and wants to be a part of our family. And just the way that he wrote that first letter, he writes to me every week, and he cares deeply about my kids. I might tell him a little something that's going on, and I get a message right back where he has an idea about something that will help. So I'm thankful. And who do I have to thank? But God himself.
Does anybody have the lucky question?
And you gave a grandchild.
I did. I'm leaving some room for that to happen slowly. We visited he and his wife Jen, who's amazing, and Natalie, this little girl, who's probably 19 months now, maybe a little bit older. We went up there just a week ago for a barbecue, and that little Natalie called Tim Grandpa the whole time we were there.
That's awesome.
Isn't that neat?
Right?
Yeah. And this is Nick and I that night at Starbucks. Amazing. God is so good.
Thank you for sharing.